We're going to keep going with Chapter 5 on dimensioning and annotating and University of Montana Revit 191. Pick up where you left off, but download a new file on Chapter 5 on Moodle right here. And here's the title of the file right there. To have a fresh copy, you just ended Chapter 4 with doing 3 different floor plans that should have looked a lot like this on level 2. And on floor plan level 3, that's what that looks like. On 4 and 5, you were left to do how you pleased, but should at least on this fresh file have corridor interior walls and bathroom walls like this. That's where we left off, but since we're starting with a fresh file, that should not be a problem. So we're going to end up doing a lot of dimensioning. This will be the final result here with some additional dimensions, which is part of our annotating backbone of this program. I'm going to open up fresh file. You guys will be doing right now. And we're going to start applying a bunch of different types of dimensions and then use dimensions as different layout tools to design our buildings. And at the end of the chapter, very briefly, we're going to go over text, annotations, and leaders, which are a lot easier than the dimensions. So the most of this chapter will be about the dimensions. On page 224, we'll start with align dimensions, which are the dimensions we're going to use definitely the most in Revit when doing a building. We'll go to floor plan level 1, where we left off, and we're going to start by adding some dimensions on this east part of the building. Right here on this wall, exterior wall. Mostly they're going to be in a chain. We'll see kind of at the bottom of page 225 what they should look like when we're done. We're going to add another one that summates all of them in one on page 226. So most of our stuff is in annotate, the annotate ribbon. And here's the align dimension, the most obvious spot. And we're going to do a bunch more of these as well, including detail line and text. So that's most of this chapter. Let's start with the align dimension. And we're going to look at our options, where the dimensions get placed about. It could be wall center lines. So in the middle of your wall faces on the outside edge. Center of core and faces of core. So cores are part of a building where there's, if I back out of this, that would be kind of the interior of the building where there's no facade, where the structural components are, like the concrete masonry and stuff. That's the core. So long story short, it's kind of about like this area here and this exterior brick wall. It's kind of the integral structural part of a building. So that's just kind of what Revit's talking about when it says core of building, whether it's a face of the core, outside, inside, or the center of it. So that's what that is. We'll go back to aligned, and I'm going to zoom out, and we're going to check our options like we usually do. We're going to make sure wall faces are what we're going to dimension to. And we're going to say entire wall. So that'll dimension everything along a wall, openings, windows, doors. Individual references are one at a time, and you'll see that in a minute. We're going to pick that, and then we're going to go into the options bar right here and change a couple things. We're going to say we want intersecting walls to be dimensioned. In this case, we'll hit OK. That's the only thing we're going to select on page 225. And hit OK. Our command's still going. Now, let's pick this wall. The command's still going. And second pick, let's pick somewhere out here in space in the view to get them off the wall so we can see them in a legible way. And there we have our dimensions. We got that by combining this entire wall with options here that we're telling it what things to dimension automatically. So that was kind of what we did in that exercise. In short, hit escape. We're going to add a dimension, overall one. So keep the command going, align dimension, right? And we're going to change what we just selected, an intersecting walls. And we're going to deselect that, hit OK. I'm going to pick that same exterior building wall. And you can see the difference. It just did the entire wall, not anything interior that we just did in the last command. So that's what that's trying to show you, the power of changing those options. Going into 226 and 227, we'll do some basic align dimensions with picking by points, which is a lot of times what you'll do, especially when you want to just dimension one thing or really something get really specific. You got to switch to this option, individual references. And then when you place dimensions, I haven't done this in AutoCAD a lot, a different program. I'm pretty familiar with when and where and why they are used and the different types up here. But in Revit here, they're very similar to AutoCAD, but they are very picky in the sequence that you place them. So especially on these line dimensions, you're going to get a little off. So let's start with this first one. We got individual references picked. We're going to change this outside face. We have that correct. And if you look at the picture on 227, it helps a lot, but we're going to really zoom in so you can see it. We're going to pick reference 1 right there. And then we're going to go to where we want to dimension, which is the interior of this facade there. Pick 2 spots. We got our 16-foot dimension. Should look like that. And the third click is where we place it horizontally. And there we go. So we have that one individual dimension. We'll go to 228. We're going to do another one basically the same way, and we're going to pick the outside face where we just went. So let's keep the command going. Let's do the same face outside of the wall, and we'll go to the interior of the double doors. If you hover close like that, it'll go to the center of the doors, which in real life, no one's going to be able to measure that, but this is more for construction purposes to just not maybe over annotate, but make sure people can read plans and build this building in the field. So I'm going to third click after the second one was right there that you saw. I'm going to pick where they're placed. I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to move this one a little bit. If you hover over it and left pick, you can see that the 4 arrow direction icon usually means move, always universally, right? So I'm going to move those so they're spaced right. And that's what that should look like. So I was able to dimension 2 different reference points, but from the same origin point right there. Keep going to 220, end of 228. We're going to show you one more command. And that's the equal command. So when I pick this chain of aligned dimensions, you see this right here. It's a little hard to see. It's called the equal command. It balances entities in a equal way to both sides. So it's in the middle. So if I click that, it realigned the wall. More accurately, it realigned the door along the wall so it was equally in the middle. So let me hit undo again. Pick these 2 dimensions that go to the center of the door. And I select that. That's all it's trying to show you it's doing. And these will show as EQ, which later you can change that to something else. We're going to turn that off in a second. So that door has been centered on that wall. That's another handy feature of dimensions in Revit. Forcing things to be more symmetrical quickly. So on this, at the end of 229, if you pick the dimensions, you can change what text for EQ. Let's see if I can reset it back to the numbers. Select them. 1 second here. There we go. There we go. So if you pick the text, that won't work. And you right click, it's not an option. My right click menu, okay? If you pick the leader lines right here, it is an option. So I can turn it off. I can turn it back on. This case, I'm just going to leave them off. I was showing you how to customize that lettering. So we'll move on to the end of page 230. We're going to dimension an angle. This isn't really the easiest thing to do. We're going to use the align dimension for a wall at an angle. Probably the most confusing part of this chapter, honestly, because it doesn't recognize this wall on an angle. So let's go through that. We're going to trick out Revit to add reference lines to dimension about, basically, is what's going to happen. So we're going to use in the annotate tab, detail lines, basically just lines we're going to draft about in our detail views. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want to get really surgical in this, zoom way in here. It's basically telling you to pick the first line at this intersection, move the second line just a little ways out like so at 45 degrees, just like I have here. You can maybe make it, I don't know, 2 feet's probably fine, but make sure you keep it at 45 degrees just so you can find it later. And we'll hit escape once, still got the command open, place detail line. We're going to do a second one down here at 45 degrees as well. There it is. Hit escape twice. So we got our workaround to place the align dimensions. Otherwise, so what happens here, if I pick the line dimension and individual references, so it's not going to do only things I pick, right? It will not always want to take this angled wall. If you can see, it's kind of stubborn. So I'm having trouble getting it to do that. So basically, I had to make these 2 detail lines so I could pick them. And that's what we have there. So I was able to, then it recognized it. So that's a little bit of a workaround, which isn't the greatest, but it's trying to show you that sometimes align dimensions, you got to manipulate them to get them to work the way you want. So there's the dimension. I just clicked here and then here on the detail lines once I had them placed, and then it went pretty quick. So on page 232, it's telling you a little bit about witness lines. So witness lines are what it attaches to. So that's this middle area. That's what the dimension is going to. That's the witness line right there. So if I hover on it, it says move witness line, I'll undo that. This is the extension line, basically, where it extends to the outside grip. So you can change that, right? See that? The witness line is the main one, though. That goes to an element entity of some sort, and you have to, it has to recognize it in Revit. So if I go way over here, it'll recognize something, right? So there we go. I'll undo that. That's what the witness line is. It's just having us drag it, moving it around. So I showed you just a little intro on that. And we're going to override the precision on this next step on 233. And we're at 30 seconds of an inch, which is pretty tight. We're going to select the dimension, and the properties box, we have the type of dimension. It's 3/32 aerial. I'm going to say edit type, which edits every single type of that dimension in this model. 30 aerial. So it's just showing you can edit every single one at the same time, which a lot of times you won't want to do, but that's something that might need to be done depending how far you get into Revit. So we're going to say duplicate. We're going to create a new one, new dimension style. and they want it called linear 3/32 aerial, call it 1 1/4, 1 1/4 there. We're going to go down the text category. And we're going to change this to the nearest fourth. Say okay. A little bit further command than most of you guys will get to, but so the dialog box on page 235 is what we did. And I'm going to hit okay. And it changed the precision of the dimension. So it's obviously a little bit more precise than that, but this one rounded it up to the nearest 1/4 of an inch. So that's what we did there. That's how you do that. If you didn't want to see it to that degree of precision, I'm going to do a linear dimension now, which they're used a lot less frequently. They only go in X or Y directions, just like the name says. They don't go in a straight line in one of the two ways. So we'll show you a good application one here. So go to the Annotate tab, pick linear, pretty similar spot, and can't select the entire wall. You have to pick at least 2 points. So on the picture on 236, we're going to pick a couple points on the top and then the bottom. So let's just add, you guys zoom way in. It kind of shows a little dot. So if you hit escape, I'll try it again. It's hard to see really. We'll go to this spot. So it either goes in this direction or that direction. That's a linear dimension. So we're going to go in this direction. The third click, pick where you want to put it. Placed it. That's basically it on linear dimensions. We're going to do some more, but that's the intro to them. 2-point click, no options available, and place it. Angular dimensions on 237, we're going to add a couple of those now. Same thing, three clicks. The third one is where you place it on your display. So we'll hit escape, go to angular dimension, and we're going to go into the facade of the building. We're going to pick let's start with this wall. It wants us to pick the interior, just like we've been going to on all the other ones as our reference. 1, and we'll pick a second. And the third click is where we place it, right there. Escape. We're going to move to the next one. And basically just start mimicking the dimensions you see on the picture on page 238. We'll just do that right now. We'll start with the align dimensions. Say individual reference. Faces. So we got the outer face there. We'll try linear for this one. I think it'll work better. Yep. I'll place it right there. Keep that one going. We'll do the next horizontal linear wall right here. Won't work at an angle, so you're not always going to use these, especially if a building that's at an angle northwest, east and south. Place that. Go back to place another angle one. Annotate, angular. Wall faces, still good. We could try this, going aligned. We'll say entire wall. This. Not having as much luck with these. On this application, it's trying to pick things I don't want to, basically. Say individual reference. There we go. That time it worked. Sometimes these align dimensions can be a little bit fidgety. You got to switch between linear and align. And some of these horizontal ones, I've realized that one worked with individual references. And that's basically the first big part of this chapter. At this point, I'd probably recommend just going around and mentioning a bunch of things, practice your pick order of stuff, especially on these first three. Okay. Let you go with that. We're going to move on to radial dimensions when you're ready on page 239. These are a bit easier. We're up here. And we're going to check our options and have wall faces open. Let's go to the right part of the building corridor. And we have to hover on what we're going to dimension. So that's the main critical thing with these. We're going to go right here to this exterior facade wall. I should say 24. So that's the critical part to see if that you got the right one, because you could go to any number of these and there are going to be different radiuses. Second click is placing it. So like these, you can move them with grips. Leaders, pulls it off. These you can move just by holding and clicking to rotate, similar to the diameter one. We're going to do the same with the diameter. Annotate diameter, but we're going to go over here, try using that command. We're going to do the same outside wall. It's going to be on this side right here. So it does the entire diameter, not radius. So same kind of order of operations. Place that 25 feet, hit escape. And we're going to add some arc length dimensions next on page 241. Right here, the Annotate tab. Only one option, where to place the dimensions to: wall faces, wall center, center of core, faces of core. And this one has a couple more clicks. So the first click is, if you read your status bar, it'll help a lot. As you get new to this, it says select an arc along which dimensions. So you're going to select the arc first. So get the arc right there. Now we're going to pick 2 points, basically the beginning and end of where the dimension goes. So I'm going to pick right here and this face. And then the fourth pick is where we place it right here. I might even move it with a grip like this, you know, so it's more readable, not in a text conflict. So we're going to keep adding those. Just one more, actually. We'll do one more. Say to this radius, this start point, this end point, and that placement. So we got 2 arc length dimensions, which just dimensions the horizontal distance along the arc only. Into page 243, we're going to start using some of them as a layout tool. So this is one of the better parts about Revit, that you can use dimensions a lot more dynamically to constrain things, make them equal, make them symmetrical. Say this wall has to stay perpendicular or whatever. using dimensions and constraints. You can over constrain things for sure, but it's a lot more dynamic than a lot of more manual drafting programs. So it's going to kind of show us a little bit of the beginning of the power of that. So we're going to start by just drawing a wall that this is all going to go about in. Similar to the picture on the bottom of page 243. Let's see how they did it. They just drafted it from the right side here. So I'm going to pick the 6 1/8 partition wall. I'm going to say in this case, create similar. I'm going to start right here, like the zoomed in picture on the bottom of 243 does. And I'm going to flip it since it's symmetrical. We'll go straight to the left, the east, excuse me, the west in this case, right about here to the center. Escape. That wall looks good. Let's mirror it. Selecting it. Mirror about pick axis, which we have a good symmetrical one right here. Mirrored it. Let's trim it up. Didn't quite go exactly where you wanted. So there we go. We got it joined correctly. Start with that. And now we're going to place more of these interior partition walls at unequal lengths. Just kind of wing it here. Goal is to change them later. So don't try to get them precise. Just kind of freehand draft them in here. Do 5 of them. Keep the command open as you go. Just keep drawing them. Do one more. Right here. They're all joined. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 open spaces. So we use the align dimension to basically align these to a certain amount. Call it equidistant from each other, basically. So let's go to the Annotate tab to aligned. And in the options bar, say center of core. So this goes to the actual full center of the core, the structural part of the wall. In this case, the interior walls, it's the same, one and the same as the wall center line and center of core are the same. Bigger exterior walls, they can be different centers. So just think about that. Select that. I'm just making sure I got my options right. That one looks correct. Individuals. Let's hover in here now. So here's the center of the core of this exterior wall. You see how it's not in the actual center of the wall like this one? It's because the structural component of this wall is off to the right. The true center of the wall is somewhere over here, but the center of the core is right here. So if you zoom into here, and you hit tab, it's trying to say you can bounce between the center of the wall and the center of core. It's saying that's kind of nice if you want that to happen. It's a new feature, kind of like the space bar that you can use to select different things. So let's pick the inside face of the wall right here, right here. And let's just dimension these one at a time. See the picture on 246 just to get an idea. So let's make these go to the interior. I'm just going to put it right here. Obviously, your dimensions are probably going to look different than the books. Start the second one. Go to the center. You can even pick like this as your point so they're even. Sure, line is picked. This one's off a little bit. My second dimension, that could easily happen. So let's move the witness line to the middle. You can do that after the fact, like I just did, grabbing the inside grip. Easy to do. Do a line back to it, center, center, place somewhere in the middle here, get it to stick. And the last one, center of core to center of core, core of the wall. I didn't get it quite picked right. Pick 2, and pick 3. Escape. Just kind of takes practice to do this. So we got them all dimensioned. I'm trying to see what they do with mirroring them to the bottom of the wall. But that is flipped. The picture on page 247 is kind of tricky. Kind of skip that part. So really the power of this command we're trying to show you on 247 is how to make them equal. So we got our string in place. Okay, let's hit escape. Mine seem to be individuals. Let me try one thing. Okay, so that's easy to do. I placed them one at a time too much. In that case, they don't have the EQ option. So that might happen to you. I know it happened to my first time doing this. So these ones are all good and all. They look fine, but they don't really work in unison. So I'm going to delete them. Easy enough to make that mistake. So if I do it real quick on the second go round, I keep doing them one at a time. They stay as one string, which is going to be important for the last step. So I got them all in one string. Click off in the space. Now I have the EQ option. Okay, so that's pretty important. Now, if I double click that, it equally placed each wall with respect to each other. So all 5 have the same interior distance with respect to the center core of the wall. So this spot or this spot in this interior wall. So that's what we did at the end of that page, which is a pretty cool command. Because these walls are always constrained to be equal, if one wall is moved, for example, all 5 partitions will always continue to maintain an equal relationship to one another. So basically what that means is as long as that dimension string is still associated with the walls, it's going to control them, constrain them like that. So let's see what that means. I hit escape. I'm just going to move this and this one. All the walls move together, or it won't let me. They're constrained, so they're equal. So we do the same thing here. If we select the actual dimension line, we can show the actual dimensions, or we can turn this constraint back off. So now I can move one wall with respect to the others and only one changes. So let's end by just clicking the line, the dimension line, and turning that off so you can see the dimensions. So this next part is about constraining a model, which dimensions do part of that, which we just did. You can definitely over constrain a model with too many things, so nothing can be moved. You can under constrain it, so too many things don't move with each other in ways you want. So you can definitely go one of both ways, is what it's kind of trying to say. So it's going to show you what you try to do to unconstrain something we just did here, for example. So when I click this dimension string, let's see what that means, and I press delete, it gives me a good warning. That's actually really helpful. It might be annoying at first, but it's saying this dimension that has equal constraints is being deleted, but the elements will still be constrained. So that will still apply even though I'm deleting it out. In this case, you got to think of what you want to do. So I want to unconstrain them. I want them to be moved again. And a lot of times, you won't be doing that, but that allows me to move them independently again. If I didn't hit unconstrain there, we'll see what happens. Delete, say, okay. It's basically, they're still constrained together. So it stops them from moving. So even though the dimension is gone, it's saying that constraint is still in the background. So that can be pretty annoying if someone made a lot of those and can't figure out where they're located. So if we pick just a wall, it'll still show it. That can help you find it too. So let's delete that string again. And I'll keep it here, but keep the constraint by hitting OK. If I click these walls, it will still show it. So that'll help you see it. Turn it off here. So that's just some food for thought, depending on what models you get into or how advanced you get with that. On 250, we're going to lock a dimension, which we've kind of done already. So I'm just going to add one dimension on the same picture that you see in number 1 on 250. Start that. Wall faces again. Picture on 534. Basically just locking the dimension in place, saying, okay, let's say I lock this right here. It's going to constrain this movement. So it'll warn me to not do that. So that's one of the things that the lock command is basically doing. So let's undo that. I was just showing you how to do that quickly. I added one up here, delete, say okay. We're going to start by adding a bunch of doors. We're on page 251 now. I'm going to add whatever doors and windows, any type's fine. So let's just start by doing that. I'll keep the 16 by 24. I'll just kind of add them in weird spots. Placement doesn't really matter, basically. I'm going to flip a couple of these though, so they don't have those weird mitered joints. There we go. It's all right if the tags are on the wrong side. Let's add a few doors, whichever type, single door, as long as it's a single door. Let's call it, this one will do. Let's add them in a similar direction that we have here. We'll let the tags go with them like usual. Flip it. Add this one. I'm adding them about 6 inches from the wall. If you haven't noticed, do it however you want. Flip. Let's add more windows over here. So we're just going to use some dimensions to move objects around, which starts in the bottom of page 251 into 252. And we're kind of going to one of the doors on the picture on page 252 first. We're going to move it in a couple spots. So on figure 5.37, move over this direction, and I'm going to select this door. I already actually have this at 6, close to it, but we're just going to type in this case, if you want just inches, you can do 6 double quotations. It'll go to 6 inches. That's not exactly the right dimension. I want to move the witness line to up here, which you can do. So I already have it at 6 inches. Let's just say it was a foot. So I moved the witness line to where I want it to reference from first, because it wasn't in the right spot. It didn't help me out in that one. I'll say 6 inches, double quotes. Same with the dimension on this door. We'll say 1 foot on the temporary dimension. Move it. I'm going to go to this door now. We're just changing a bunch of these. They wanted at 6 inches. Let's just call it 8 inches, just for showing you purposes. Call that good. So one thing when you see these doors, this makes the dimension, temporary dimension, permanent, right? So we've already used that a little bit. Drag the dimension off right here, the leader as well. And it's basically saying, you know, you can pick this dimension and turn the leader off as well. If you don't like the look of that, still move it around. That's one option. I can turn it back on here. You can change the type, a lot of different stuff. Let's just move it back out like this. Towards the bottom of page 254, we're going to keep moving, and we're going to select, let's just select, let's call it, this one's 6 inches. Let's make this permanent. We'll use this one as an example. So we select it. Everything turns blue, and as you know, everything that turns blue in Revit is editable. So we'll pick the text, and this dimension text box comes up. We try to say, hey, replace with what we want. Could be some bogus dimension like this, right? Hit OK. Doesn't let us do that, which for the most part is good. So it's something most people don't want to have being done, because basically gives a lot of fake information that gets not best practice really. So we'll put for that TYP for typical. That's pretty typical. Repeat the word, that's common nomenclature, putting something like that in there, saying that's a typical dimension on all these walls, right? Wall to door. So that's all we're doing there. We're showing you some options inside there, the dimensions. That was on the picture on 256 as well. We're going to go to the bottom of 256 and looking to see what they actually want us to change. It's really on the page 257. So if we select this, saying make that permanent or not, but mostly it wants us to change this to 22 feet, space 6 inches. Enter. So it stays that. As the new layout of that wall, I made it permanent. We're going to go into project units now. Manage tab, project units. And it wants us to change basically a couple things. Actually, just one thing, I think in this first one, it says length, how we show stuff. And we already at one time said to the nearest fourth of an inch, but we're really just going to suppress these zeros at the beginning. So if I hit OK, it should have suppressed. There we go. So instead of 0 feet, 8 inches, it's just 8 inches now. So that's essentially what we just did on that, which is kind of nice. You might not want to see that 0. We can go back and re-edit. So just that dimension, I think we got them all at the right, the nearest rounding. So we went back there. So I want everything to round to the nearest, I don't know, fourth of an inch. Let's do that as well for our annotations. And nothing will be any more precise than that for that particular, for any dimension. A little easier ending part of the chapter on 259. We're going to place some text and annotations. It's a lot like AutoCAD, just a little more simplified and easy to lay out. If we go back, we're still in floor plan 1. We're going to go to the east wing, the radial area here, and we're going to add some text. So let's go back to annotate. Let's go to text here. And there's really no options, it just says where do we want to place it. And I'm just going to pick like a square shape like this, pick and hold. And we're going to call just this text CMU shaft wall for the elevators. That's pretty big. Mine defaulted to that. So if I pick that text box again, that's the style I got. So let's delete that. Just for instructional purpose, let's do it again. Annotate text. So I had a large size picked. So we're going to pick the smaller size, 3/32 Arial. And we'll do that again. Just showing you can have different types. That. We're going to do a couple more options. We're going to do basically a leader, same thing. So I could have this selected and I could add a leader to it after the fact. Like this. Which isn't always ideal. Let's pick it again. Let's pick add left side straight leader. There, add it a little more cleanly this time. Move my 2 grips to better locations. You can move this, re-grip it. We're going to add one from the start like that instead of making it a text box and then adding a leader. We're going to add a leader with text right away. So same thing. Annotate tab, text, and we're going to pick this leader option, 2 segments. Start here. Second click, third click, and the fourth is we're going to add annotation. They want to be called radial wall. Enter makes it space down. So we're going to left data click out in space into the view to end the command. Escape fully ends it. So we have a default leader on this. I'll show you how to change that quick. Let's take a look on page 263 to 264. And it's kind of a hidden little area. So we'll go back to annotate right here. I'll hover on that for a little bit. Text types. This is defining our attributes for text notes, for example. And I'm going to do it just for this size, not the larger size that I accidentally put in earlier. This just this 30-second aerial. And we're going to change the type of leader arrowhead to, I don't know, what do they want here? Picture shows it pretty good. Arrow filled 15 degree, and we're going to change the width factor. So we're going to change 2 settings. And there's a bunch of other settings. We're not going to go over them all right now. And if I hit OK, it's going to change every instance of that in my drawing to a different type of leader, different type of skinnier width text, basically. You can also go inside of it, double click, and bold it, underline, italicize, stuff like this. Check spelling, put lists, paragraphs, different justifications. So that's the end of that, which pretty much wraps up the chapter. That part's pretty easy compared to the dimensions, but at this point, you're a little handier with dimensions. You know how to use leaders and text a little bit better for annotating. You know how to constrain things a little tighter and equally space things if you want, or constrain them and deleting constraints, how to be surgical to do that so they're not still hidden in the background. Like on this one, they want to stay or not, depending on which one you pick. So you learned a lot more about that, and you're able to better annotate a building and place elements. That's the end of chapter 5.